Hi, friends. I am here with Miss Amber, and Amber is one of our 2024 Broken and Beloved sponsors. So we are here in your birthing suite. So I'm going to just have her introduce herself, and I want you to tell everybody a little bit more about what got you started down the path of being a midwife.
Oh, goodness. I'm Amber Mikolajczyk. I've been a midwife in Green Bay for the last 5.5 years, and I was drawn to midwifery after observing my ex-sister-in-law go through a pregnancy and a typical delivery at a hospital here in town. And at the moment of delivery, I knew in my soul that I was going to change how birth happened in this community, and that is how I got started.
I love it. Okay. So Amber also was a participant. Was it 2022 that you were in it? 2021? 2023.
Wait.
I think you're right. 2023.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I don't remember.
Oh my God. Anyways, she went through the project herself, and then you had a baby. Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So she doesn't highly recommend doing your boudoir shoot, by the way, 6 weeks postpartum, but she did it because she's strong AF. But it was awesome to have you come back in. I know that you signed up and you're like, oh, I'm pregnant again.
Yes. Yeah, that is how I signed up, and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no. The funny thing is like I feel like because you were pregnant, every time she's done a boudoir shoot, she's been pregnant or like fresh, and I think that just comes to speak to the fact like I almost struggle making people look pregnant sometimes because I'm so used to like posing people, in ways where they have insecurities and things like that, and obviously being a mom, that's one of those things. But I'm curious to know what led you at the time to go through the project. What was one of the big things that had you?
The reason that I wanted to do the project in the first place is because I was postpartum with my baby that I had in 2022, and I was really hating my body. And I thought it was really hypocritical that in the line of work that I do, I'm constantly reaffirming to mamas like, oh, you got to take the time, and it takes 9 months or 10 months to grow this baby in birth, and it takes a whole year to regain your pelvic floor function and all these things, and you need to be patient with yourself. And I was not giving myself the same grace, and so I decided I was going to do the project so that I could fall in love with my body all over again. But then I got pregnant again.
But there were a lot of images that you picked out for your package where I felt like you were like, oh, that's nice. I like that one.
I loved all my pictures.
Yeah. Because did you print a big one too? I think you did. Or another one? Not this time?
Not this time.
Okay. Last time you did. Okay. So what I would love to know is what encouraged you to or inspired you to want to sponsor this project?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. So I had seen like a couple years ago when I had first sponsored, I had seen your ad just on Facebook of doing the sessions, and I was like, that is so cool. So just your inspiration behind the project is, I just wanted to support that. Like, I thought it was really great that women were able to go through the whole thing. I didn't really understand what it entailed at that moment. I just thought, man, this is a really great way to be able to fall in love with yourself, and have someone who understands what insecurities feel like, and know that you're able. I saw the work that you did, and so I knew that you were able to capture pictures that people were going to be like, oh my gosh, I look like that. And I just thought, man, this is really great, especially because women who are pregnant and postpartum have a lot of insecurities. There's just a ton surrounding that, and this unfortunate pressure that we have in this culture that you have to bounce back is really present. And I thought, if I can even just to support in any way was really the goal, just because I feel heavily that we don't really get the proper amount of postpartum recovery or support, and they go together, and there is no bounce back. Like, your body is forever changed every single time you have a baby, and you might be able to regain your physical image the way that it was, but your body is forever changed, and to be able to walk through that with grace is really important.
I love that. That was perfect. And I love the way that you support women too. I feel like I didn't know Amber at the time that I had my last baby, but I did pick a midwife over doing it the other way, and it was like the best birth I've ever had. So I can say with a full chest that, and it was my biggest baby. Like, she was almost 10 pounds, and I didn't do any drugs with it. And that was really important to me. I really thought, like, all right, I'm going to do this. Because I honestly, it was not so much because I'm like, oh, I can handle the pain. It was more so because I wanted to walk after I had my baby, because I knew that that was important for recovery. And there's so many things that you don't know how to do. Here's a question I think that would be really important for you to discern for people, because not a lot of women know that there is a big difference between a doula and a midwife. Oh, Lord. So I know you could probably go on a tangent about it.
I could go on a whole tangent about
like,
it.
Yeah, a big difference, just so you guys know, if there are any of our audience that is expecting a baby or planning for a baby, what is the difference between the two? And then also talk about maybe how they can work hand in hand.
They do work hand in hand. However, a doula is an emotional support person. They are there to cheer. They're your cheerleader. They usually come in with some knowledge about birth. They understand, what's a very generalized scope of what's normal and not normal, how long labor can take, early labor versus active labor, and that is really helpful, particularly for first-time mothers or mothers who have not had natural birth before, because there's a whole process that goes with that. But a birth doula is also really essential on the team when you are having either a surgical birth or an induction or things like that, because they are there to remind you that you can do this, you're doing great, everything's looking really well, you've got this. A midwife is your primary care provider. So we're not an OB. I don't have a doctorate, but I do have a degree and a license. And, we handle all of your medical care, which is completely different than a doula. A doula is your support person. Your midwife is your practitioner, your provider. So even in out-of-hospital birth, which is what we do here, I run all your labs. I order your ultrasounds. We collab, with OBs and nurse midwives, but we really handle 99% of your care out of the hospital. And then we also are the care provider for you and your baby. So that's another difference. In the hospital, there's separate teams for the neonate versus the mother, and here we do it all. But we also provide a much more detailed level of care, because we're not seeing hundreds of patients a day. We're seeing maybe 10.
Yeah. I love that, and I feel like if that's something like birth is different for everybody, but I love that there is a different road, because I think sometimes I'm in the healthcare field too, so I understand like sometimes that's the direction you want to take, and that feels good. But I feel like birth is such a sacred and an emotional thing that if you have, like, I would say try it. Like if you're planning on having a baby, or you've done it one way or you're having another one, I highly recommend it, just because it's a completely different experience. Like my last baby, she even allowed and helped helped their dad deliver the baby, and that wouldn't have flown. Like, no. And that was really important for us. And so it's, you only give birth so many times as a woman. And so I feel like you would be doing something here with Amber would definitely be able to give you that whole experience that's not protocol.
Right.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but she develops a plan. Everybody's body is different.
Right.
So because she's not pushing out, like you said, all those people, she's really able to customize everything catered to you, which is very similar to what we do, because we also do not we're not like a high, we're not the JCPenney's of where people are just coming in same day, where it's really, moving people around. We take the time to build rapport. We take the time to get to know you. We're very detail oriented. So I think that's probably why it's really aligned. And obviously our mission is we curate Studio Nude. We curate safe spaces for women to live freely in their skin. And that's exactly what Amber is doing, but in a different industry, which is really, really cool. So we love you as a sponsor. And I also just, how can people connect with you? So if you're having a baby or you're thinking about one and you want to talk to Amber, tell people where they can find you. And also make sure you tell them the name, your website and all that stuff too.
Sure. So you can find us pretty easily just on the internet. If you search Mindful Birthing Green Bay, I'm one of the first businesses that pop up. But also if you search Birth Center or Midwife Green Bay, we pop up pretty quick on the list there too. Otherwise, you can find us on our socials. I primarily use Facebook, so just type in Mindful Birthing Green Bay into your Facebook tab and it'll pull us up. Otherwise, my website is mindfulbirthinggreenbay.info, and you can find us on there. And then just most people, there's actually an info video on the website. So if you're thinking, man, I kind of want some information, but I don't want to talk to you yet, which is just fine. I relate. Under the Meet Your Team tab at the bottom of the page, there's an info video that kind of goes through the basics of who we take into care. So we only facilitate birth for low risk mothers. Low risk to us is not necessarily what it is in the hospital. For example, age is not necessarily a factor for us, so long as we have healthy mothers. That's more important. But that video will give you a pretty good idea of what care looks like here, the cost, and kind of how we just run through our typical standard of practice out of the hospital.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a sponsor. Yeah. Thank you for being a client. Thank you for everything. It's nice to be in your neck of the woods for a change and coming into your element. So stay tuned. She's got some really cute pictures coming up, and you guys can take a little peek into what her space looks like. But absolutely go check out everything Amber has to offer, and be sure to take, if you're done having babies or this isn't your realm, I'm sure you know somebody that is. Please pass her information along. Referrals go a long way for us small business owners, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.